Welcome to the Global Gratitude Summit. I'm Sharon Saraga Walters.
And I'm Luann Saraga Walters. Our guest today has made gratitude a cornerstone of her business. She's an amazing entrepreneur, networking guru, author, and virtual mentor to over 20,000 women. Violette de Ayala is a Cuban-American serial and social entrepreneur, founder of FemCity with 100 plus chapters throughout the United States and Canada, and author of The Self-Guided Guru, Lessons for Everyday Humans. She's been quoted in Success, Entrepreneur, Business Insider News, and featured in People, InStyle, Vogue, Mashable, and Fast Company, just to name a few. And today, she is featured on the Global Gratitude Summit. Welcome, Violet. We are so honored to have you here with us today.
Yes, we are. Thank you so much. I am also very honored to be here. Thank you for asking me to be a part.
Do you know, we actually, in moving to Colorado, Sharon became involved in a local chapter of FemCity, and that was actually our first introduction to this amazing organization that you've put together. And so I want to start there. How did you come to FemCity, designing it, using gratitude as a basis for it? Tell us a little bit about the background.
Sure. So I started my first business at the age of 22, and I had no support at all. I mean, that was 1994. So there was really no support online or locally. And I really struggled. I made every mistake I could possibly make in business. And I knew I wanted to continue on this entrepreneurial path because I had a new baby and I wanted to be home with him. I didn't want to be raising latchkey kids because I was a latchkey kid myself. And that really started forming the idea of FemCity. And so many years later and many businesses later, I moved back to Miami, my hometown, and I was going to every single networking event here in South Florida. They're beautiful, by the way. Miami knows how to throw parties and create beautiful swag bags. But I was leaving each networking event a little depleted and feeling like a little disconnected from society and community in general. And this is way before social media. And as the years continued, I really kept craving a sense of community in a small, more intimate gathering, and I just couldn't find it. And one day, life is a series of aha moments, right? And when you listen and you are guided by your intention and purpose, I finally said, you know what, I'm just going to create something small that'll just be 20 women. We'll just meet once a month. And we'll just be there in sisters of business, support each other, offer guidance, referrals, advice, just have a shoulder to cry on if needed. And that's really how FemCity started. Our first lunch I had, I always tell people it was completely boring. It had no format in it at all. It was like a really, really sad baby shower, bridal shower. Like there was no games. Like we just stared at each other like, okay, well, this is lovely, but now what? And then the second time I did a FemCity Miami, which was our first location, I had 60 women show up, and it was so beautiful. So we had every age bracket, height, weight, color of skin, religion, political affiliation. It was the first moment in my life that I walked into true diversity. And I didn't really know anybody in that room. They had just heard from a friend about this new group. And that was my second aha moment. I just looked around and I thought, wow. And just the sound of women chatting and connecting. I always say if it was a soundtrack, I could listen to that all day. If it was like a Pandora or Spotify channel, I would listen to it all day. And really just, signs from above, guidance. I started doing it was on the side. I had my own PR marketing company at the time. I was working with environmental initiatives. I had a gig with the city of Miami mayor's office. I was an advisor to one mayor. And then when he moved out of office, the next mayor hired me as a senior advisor. And I was working with, on big campaigns like Jimmy Buffett and Alejandro Sanz and Pitbull, and had no idea that this little FemCity Miami gathering that I created would actually become this worldwide movement. And the part of the gratitude, it's so funny, like that was from the beginning. I just felt like we needed that more in the world. Like we just never take the time to honor other women. And I'm not a fan of TV. I don't watch TV because I always feel like it depicts women as not the glorious beings that I see them as to be. And so we really incorporated that just from the very beginning of just taking that time to honor not only ourselves, but other women. And that was the most magical piece of it all. As a matter of fact, I remember the first couple of times we did it, people would cry. Women would cry. It was usually the most type A women that worked in very male-dominated industries. They would just cry because they had never been in a room where 40 women are just sharing beautiful gratitude to other women, just one by one. So it really it took on this whole entire feeling, and then of course our slogan became "Business for Your Soul." So that's really how we started. And then we just started launching. People started asking for Fem City. Didn't know why they were asking for Fem City. I thought we are just gathering. Like, why do you want Fem City? And it wasn't until, you know, how sometimes you receive signs from above and it comes in packets. Like, so it was 10 women that asked for our city in their backyard. And I thought, I don't know what this means, but I will move forward and I will see what this path unfolds.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And I know
Mhm.
Sharon came home and she was immediately captivated.
Oh, I was, we talked about it earlier. Networking was never a thing for me. I don't know why it wasn't. And when I found Fem City, and just a believer in gratitude. And just when this was here, it was amazing to walk into a meeting, a networking meeting, where gratitude started and we finished with gratitude. Just wonderful. So thank you for that. So one question I'm kind of curious about. So has gratitude always been a part of your life?
I think so. I think with my upbringing, I had a very challenging upbringing. My mother suffered from mental illness and also was a drug addict. She recently passed from her addiction. And I think that was one thing that I just held on to, is kind of like this rose-colored glasses outlook on life, like to grasp just the little beauties that I would find. And that was really what helped me to cope with, just my childhood. So I think gratitude has always been like my saving grace, like that place that I always found peace and harmony and purpose. And so I think even since I was younger, like people would always say like, wow, you always like say kind things about everyone. And you're always, and I do, I find that every human that I come across has really beautiful pieces, even if they're hurt and damaged, from life. Yeah. Everyone has like these beautiful components. And when we just stop and acknowledge that, it really starts defining their beauty, and they start kind of re-looking at their, kind of just redefining their own purpose and life. And so I think it's been a part of who I am because I needed it in my life just to get by. That makes sense.
That's great. I want to acknowledge your mother's passing too, because that's a significant moment in every child's life. And I've had that experience as well. But what I'm hearing with you, Violet, is that you're such an empowering person. You have this desire to see other people and to help them blossom. And you mentioned when we were doing a pre-interview with you, you mentioned Carol's daughter.
Yes.
And how you have always admired what she has created. And so I had to go look that up, and I was like, wow, what an amazing woman. What is her name?
Lisa Price.
Lisa is Carol's daughter. Right. And the story that she shares on that. So talk just a little bit of, what does mentoring mean to you? Now you're in the position where you are that virtual mentor to 20,000 plus more women. What does mentoring look like for you?
So that story, Luann, is just, I will not cry, I promise. But it's so funny how things work out. In 1994, Lisa Price was on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I remember watching it. And it was the whole story of how she created this brand. She actually named it, she is Carol's daughter. She loved her mother so much. She made these beautiful, like, fragrant beauty products in her kitchen and started selling them at church and then started selling them at the market, and then just grew and grew and grew. And of course, now she sold it to L'Oreal, and she's like this iconic woman. And so she served as a mentor. And it's so funny, like when we think about the word mentor, we think we have to like meet with them all the time. We have to know them. We have to have conversations with them all the time. And really, she served as a mentor to me. That was the first time I actually heard of someone starting a business in their house. I'm talking 1994. So now probably it's more common. We see it on Instagram, but 1994, we had 3 TV channels for those that are a little bit younger. We had 3 channels, and it was like, there was not that much content on there. So when you hear a story like that, and so she just always impacted my life. And I just can't believe the whole entire pattern of my life came back. I had the opportunity and the honor of interviewing her on our Fem City Business for Your Soul podcast. In the first couple of minutes, I just cried and I honored her. I said, you have no idea. Like, I was that young Cuban girl looking at you, creating this amazing brand, connected to purpose and to family and to community. And So I guess my point in sharing that is that we all think that no one's noticing us. We go through our day and we post on Instagram and we post, but I think all of us have the power to be amazing mentors for people that are watching and just get a glimpse. So I always share with women that share our stories, share your messy story as well, because that's where the beautiful rising happens for other people. When they say, wow, Violet had a mother who was a drug addict and she turned out to be okay. She's pretty solid, or she was on welfare. Now she's really wealthy. Like, there are pieces of ourselves that we connect with other people, but it's usually in that doom and gloom situation. And that's where we rise. That's where we see the beauty within ourselves. And so we don't see that unless we share all of those stories. And that is what Lisa Price did for me. And I cried the first 5 minutes of that podcast. It's just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm meeting you. I could not believe I was meeting her. Yeah, it was incredible.
And I love that. And that's fantastic. And I also love a point that you just made about sharing who we are and sharing what looks like the bad, but actually sometimes really good things come from the bad, and we may not see it at the time. But having that tribe of women around us to be able to see the good in us is very empowering and uplifting during that bad too. So what you've created is more than, well, it's obviously more than a networking group, but it's also more than an entrepreneurial's business mentoring association, because what you've created in that, and I think that you had mentioned two of your attributes were gratitude and community. So you're creating a community here. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I kind of pulled a little bit. Sharon was going to ask you another question. I wanted to put those two together, but that gratitude and community aspect and how you came to that.
Sure. Well, when I started my Pilates business back in Raleigh, North Carolina in 19, I have to go back. I can figure out my life based on when I was pregnant, like which child I had. So 1999, I had a Pilates studio, and really the success of that business was connected to community. I was really involved with the community, and all of my students referred my studio to many of their friends. And that's when I connected. I thought, you know what, business doesn't have to be so clinical. It doesn't have to be so corporate. It doesn't have to be so aggressive. Going back to what you were saying about networking, I do not like networking. Like, when I go to networking events, I feel icky. It makes me feel gross. I don't know what it is about the process of people just bombarding me with like their salesy energy. And so I was the same way. But I didn't realize I was already networking just by meeting people. So networking is just creating relationships. That one person that you have a profound connection to then goes out and shares, wow, I just met Violet and she seems like a really solid person and she seems like someone who's with intention. And that's how we can grow our business. We can do it with heart. It doesn't have to be like 3-piece suit, briefcase, all like, stern, no heart, cold, bitter. It can have warmth and it can have soul and spirit in it. And that's always going to be connected to community. Always. You cannot create greatness on your own. You're going to need to have people around you to support you. That any big person, even if you're like someone like Oprah, you have to have people around you in order to grow. And you want that. You want to have people around you that they also grow, and everyone grows together. So I totally get it when people say, I don't like networking. That's why I started Fem City. I couldn't stand it. Oh gosh, when I speak now, I volunteer my time sometimes here in Miami to speak at these local networking events. And sometimes I leave and I'm like, oh my gosh, that was horrible. I just felt so, it was rough.
Well, and I like what you said too, just about growing, because you've got groups of women across. Well, we're going to talk about that in a second. You're expanding out into other countries as well, but you have these groups of women who are coming together to grow personally and professionally. And so, this being the Global Gratitude Summit, that brings to mind Sharon's next question as well.
Yeah. So, Violet, how does gratitude play a role in day-to-day business, and why is it important?
So I think if you can incorporate a little touch of gratitude in everything you do, it makes a huge difference. At the end of the day, people want to do business with people they like. And so you have to connect on a human to human, soulful level each time you do outreach. So every time I send an email, I make sure that I have the proper energy, even if it's a grouchy one. Let's say I receive a grouchy email, which we all get, to stop and pause, reflect on the energy we want to go ahead and present. what our intention is in that response, and then always to lead in with that love. So I always, I've written articles on this, like how to send an email. Like, so the first, paragraph is like, in gratitude, thank you so much for sending your email. I did not know, let's say it's a grouchy email, I did not know that problem, existed, or that we had that problem on the website, or whatever the situation is. The second one is kind of finding that solution. Here's what we're going to do about it. And then the third one is closing it out with more gratitude. I'm so glad that you're in our community. I'm so glad that I got a chance to meet you. Thank you so much for bringing this. That often will change the energy on the other person's end. Mm-hmm. Much like when you smile at someone when they're coming down and then they smile back. Or if you let someone go, I do this all the time. If I let someone go in front of me, if I'm driving, I let the person go in front of me. I always look to see if the person behind me does the same. And I would say 99% of the time they do. Because goodness is contagious, right? Gratitude is contagious. It makes people stop and go, wow, I was really grouchy, but I got this email and it feels like love. It doesn't feel like, passive aggressive or, like bad juju. It feels really good. And so every moment that we have the opportunity to shine, it allows other people to also step up and shine and maybe change the direction that they were having that day. Or maybe, a series of those moments make it so that they realize there should be gratitude all the time in every interaction that we have, even in face-to-face, just adding that was so nice to meet you. Just kindness is really what gratitude is about, and just highlighting the beautiful parts of the people that we come across.
Wow, that's great. And it also allows you to stay in your level of gratitude and appreciation, and none of that, you don't miss a beat with that. It keeps you going too by doing that.
Even if you get a grouchy email, let's say you get a series of grouchy emails, right?
wait, I just have to say, I love how you call them grouch emails. That cracks me up. Go ahead, sorry.
By the way, I highly recommend following Oscar the Grouch on Twitter. Hilarious. On that word grouchy. But, the blessing in that is, wow, you have people that are actually using your product, right? They're using your services. You have people that are emailing you. They want something in their life. So even the grouchy emails contain gratitude because, wow, you're in business. You actually have the capability of responding. That means that you have a laptop. That means you have like a cell phone that you can actually, you're in a good place, even with the grouchiness in the world. You're still, so find those moments. And because not everybody has a laptop. Not everybody has a business that gives 3 people the, opportunity to send you grouchy emails. Like, that's a really big blessing. And if you start really embracing it as opportunity and blessings, you'll get more of that because you're starting to really notice it around you. And then that energy, people want to be around that kind of energy. You start kind of making that movement happen in the lives of other people.
Yes. And, we have several medical doctors, DOs and whatnot on to talk about the physiological and the mental, the psychological effects of gratitude. And so what you've incorporated is, it's almost like a vitamin that you've injected into your meetings. And so people take that and they go, I feel better with this. I want to keep doing it. So there's natural byproduct is that more and more people want that vitamin. And therefore your business just keeps growing and you see more chapters growing, which then, like how I'm just segueing into this next question, which is, wow. So what are the future plans? What does the plan for FemCity hold? Are you looking at other countries, etc.?
Yeah, so I think these days I wake up more fiery than ever before to take our community around the world. And it's also, I'm on this, I go through a tour of our cities around this time. Like, I'll be in South Texas tomorrow visiting our communities. I was in Toronto 2 weeks ago, and then I'll be in Philadelphia. So I start doing all these tourings now. And the power of gatherings, of women gathering in a safe place, is so powerful, where they can be themselves. And that is what fuels my passion, my power to go ahead and really start looking at growing this around the world. Because I think to myself, how beautiful would it be to have thousands of communities gathering every single month where they're just honoring each other? Let's just take that part out. I mean, it's got education component, it's got this, networking component, but there are 2 pieces of gratitude, the beginning and the at the end. And that really could change the world in such a profound way, where people are stopping and acknowledging that, versus watching TV, seeing I'm going to steal your husband, I'm going to backstab you to get that job, I'm going to, like all that stuff that media tries to brainwash us with, to make us think that that's how women are. imagine the opposite. If we can just really come together and honor each other. And so what, who cares if you don't have the same religion as I do? Who cares if you don't have the same upbringing? That we can connect and still be friends and still help each other is really beautiful. And I think the world needs more of that.
That's gorgeous. So if there is somebody listening, since we are global, who wants to reach out to you, how would they do that? Let's go ahead and give them that information right now.
Sure. So you can go to femcity.com, and that's the best way to connect with us there. And you can always follow me on Instagram. All of my handles are exactly the same. They're my name, Violette de Ayala. Go figure. Nobody else has that name. But you can always message us. We are happy to help, and we're looking at launching around the world. So if there's someone who wants to request a community, we do take notes of that. And we do try to find leaders. It's a volunteer position, and it's a beautiful way to give back and to obviously make a difference in your community.
And what a way to meet like-minded women and to really help all of the women that are in your community rise up and to become even better versions of themselves, to reach our potential. That's very empowering. I love what you're doing with that. And I can't believe it's already been almost 30 minutes that we've had this. I know. Where does it go? But we're not done. We have just a couple of more final questions for you. Let Sharon lead into those.
This one?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how we start and end the meetings. I wanted to ask you if you would share, what are you grateful for, and who is the one woman who you're grateful for?
Wow, there's so many women. I am grateful that there are women in the world that recognize the beauty in that program. And not everybody does, by the way. Sometimes people go, well, that's stupid. I'm not going to do that, gratitude. And so sometimes people don't get it. And that's fine, right? Life is about timing. It has to feel right. I'm hoping that if we peer pressure a little bit for them to have to share gratitude, that it'll feel so good that they'll recognize, wow, I should do this all the time. So that's my intention. To kind of get them to say it. And then they go, wow, that feels really good to say something kind about somebody else, or say something kind about myself out loud and not feel like an egomaniac or a narcissist.
Awesome.
I think the biggest shift in my life came from meeting Joan Barnes. She's the founder of Gymboree. I met her. We were on a panel together when she wrote her latest book. And we just connected. And I have to say, she is probably, if I had to pick one woman, I would say she is someone who, if I had a question, she would answer my phone, call. She would text me back. She just talk about mentors. I mean, she was someone who just, created this huge Gymboree brand and then just always pays it forward. And I know I'm not the only one. I know she mentors many other women. She's very passionate about helping women. So I know that I'm just a little peanut in her whole gallery, but she just always, so I think I would give her that moment. And I do often, by the way. I just adore her. She's just great.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Perfect. Do you want to conclude? All right. So now we are at a question that we ask all of our speakers, and that is, what is your definition of gratitude? What does gratitude mean to you?
Gratitude means to me taking a very small moment of love and embracing it with words and sharing it either internally or externally to somebody else. Just sharing that kind of love moment, taking something that someone didn't even recognize, even within ourselves. I always go back to ourselves. So there are women out there that don't share gratitude for themselves either. And as we love ourselves, we love the world. So it's really important for us to share those kind words as well. Like, wow, that was so great, Violet. You did a good job at the summit, or, you did a great job on the Forbes article or whatever it is. Like, just acknowledge your own greatness, because from that, you then acknowledge it in other people as well, or vice versa. As you start acknowledging other people, you start embracing yourself. And it just makes the world a better place. It's such a small act of kindness. It just makes the world a better place. And it's free.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow. Well, so Violet, thank you so much for being such an open-hearted, empowering soul who is helping so many thousands of women, soon to be wrapping the world with this, with FemCity. We just love it. And thank you so much for coming on the summit.
Yes, thank you so much. And I thank you because I have witnessed FemCity meetings and watching myself as other women coming from their heads to their hearts in the meetings immediately. So thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you.
Awesome. And so for the rest of you, join us again on the next show for the Global Gratitude Summit. We'll see you then.